Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. Before we continue with the story, I would just like to point out that I've had several people come to me and complain that they've been unsubscribed and notifications have been turned off against their will. So if you would like to reset the internet by tapping, turning on, off, or off and on, or whatever you want, notifications, and just double check that you're subscribed. Anyways, back to tonight's story. Humanity's Final Words to Heaven and Hell, written by Farmwitch 4275. The smog of the city hung heavy in the air, a strange malaise of calm and quiet permeating every alley and doorway. Not a single soul could be seen amongst the emptied streets, mostly stray cats and random dogs roaming free. They are staying abed for the coming events. Good, Gabriel said to himself as he looked from heaven. Good. They are preparing for the coming harvest, Lucifer said to himself as he stared at his view from hell. Both denizens of heaven and hell respectfully pressed their metaphorical big red buttons, and then came the rapture. The doom began. The last day. The skies of earth darkened, glowing red with hatred as fire and brimstone of God's wrath began to fill from the heavens. Meteors impacted skyscrapers, and debris crashed into surrounding structures in a blazing inferno. The waters of the oceans rose to a staggering height, swamping entire cities along every coastline. Diseases so potent came from the miasma that was the pre-dawn haze that was so potent that began to rust and erode the structures around them. Cities began to collapse. Cars flung out for miles. Tornadoes of every category crashed into the world where they were never known before. Hurricanes, the likes of which had never before been seen, shattered into coastlines. Earthquakes split the earth open, and volcanoes spilled magma out into the world. The gates of heaven and hell opened. The denizens of the eternal side spilled forth and began their final war. Earth had fallen. Her blade struck hard and true as the angel fought with a group of demons. Their numbers no match for her skill, and holy blade and claws became severed from arms. Demon blood spilled into the empty streets as she cleaved a glorious path through the armies of Satan's monsters. Her blade swung to her right, cutting clean through a bus sitting in the street, but likewise cleaving a devil's body clean in two. He screamed as he clawed his way from her, only to have his head stomped on by her mighty boot. Clearly outmatched, the remaining demons panicked and ran, calling for reinforcements. The angel stood her ground. "Stand and fight, you worthless cowards," she yelled at them. She scoffed and moved to inspect the damage. A car had been cut in half. A bus in the middle of the street had half of its roof caved in. A building had collapsed as she had thrown a demon into its front, crushing the fiend under debris. She raised her wings and flapped hard, jumping towards the nearby city square. The battle around her dispersed to further locations, and the sounds of war grew distant. Skyscrapers further along collapsed. The world around her descended into an eerie, strange quiet. With the excitement and adrenaline of the war wearing off, she had, for the first time since her descent onto the surface of Earth, her first feeding of Earth's green grass and cooling air in centuries. She took stock of her situation and noticed how far mankind had come since last she saw Earth's dirt and rock. Long gone were the days of wooden constructs. She marveled at the neon signs posting and concrete skyscrapers. How desperately did they want to get to heaven that they built so high, she thought aloud to herself. She moved through the empty streets, seeing devastation, but no bodies. No human corpses strewn about. She dismissed this concern, thinking that the demons had eaten the bodies like demons always do. She slowly moved through the shattered city as the battle grew ever more distant. The more she looked around, the more she grew concerned. Something here didn't add up. Where was everyone? Where were the pools of blood? Where were the occasionally scattered piles of bone? Where were the screams? Humans are very hard to kill. She listened carefully. Only the sound of chirping birds, squealing cats, and pattering feet from the occasional stray dog could be heard. She was sure maybe there would be at least one yell for help, or something, or anything. "Hello? Is anybody here?" she said aloud. Nothing but silence. She started noticing how some parts of the city were overgrown. 1 or 2 buildings had vines growing from them. Decoration, perhaps? "Hello? Is anyone here?" she yelled again, her voice of desperation. Her voice echoed across the empty city, reverberating through the abandoned streets. The only response to her cries are the scattering of cats, dogs, and birds that were startled by her yell. Confusion fills her mind as she flies skywards to get a greater picture. Her eyes scan the horizon, smoke rising up from neighboring cities, fields of grass burned to black, and the air filled with smoke. Through the destruction, her eyes catch a glimpse of a series of strange structures in the distance. She flies towards them with all haste, noticing how some human structures still appear to be moving about. She ignores several flying demons and angels fighting in the skies, zooming past them with all haste. She lands on the ground, a factory of some kind surrounding her. To her eyes, an abomination of nature, as mechanical arms and robotic machinery move and switch about. Arms and metal claws grab plates of metal, insert them into machines that then spit out cogs, wheels, and parts. That are then fed into other machines that belt out fire and produce more complex parts. She sees hope, power, energy, complexity. This means that there is something out there, a human, still alive, trying to build a means to defend themselves. She gains a greater resolve and returns to battle as she engages a nearby demon. The war around her suddenly comes to a halt as the sound of a rocket engine's roar to life. The factory suddenly ceases its operation. The demons and angels within range of the factory stop their combat and watch in awe as one of mankind's creations roars into the skies above them, piercing the veil and vanishing into the skies beyond. Gabriel and Lucifer both watch in disgusted awe as a massive ship enters the dark void above Earth, and then vanishes in an instant out of the star system. The battles across the globe ceased in an instant with a sudden revelation. In the skies above every city, a hologram image of a man clad in resplendent scarlet red and silver robes appears, along with his booming voice distorted by his mask. "Sons and daughters of heaven and hell, I welcome you to Earth, or at least what's left of it. We heard of your coming long ago, and simply accepted it. Tales long told of the last days. The days where the faithful go to heaven, where the damned stay on Earth only for the world to finally fall. Boiling seas, falling skies. Long have we languished under your gaze. But as times went on, life changed. We began to see the power of the machine, and think of things beyond our world. We gazed at the stars as our lives improved. We lived longer, loved deeper, and we realized we were beyond your reach now, beyond your time, beyond you. And thus we came to the ultimate realization. We were not God's greatest creation anymore. We had been reduced to little more than a currency. Our lives and souls exchanged for payments. Our lives little more than something to be bargained for by shadows and ghosts. Our value in this life was reduced to how much your two sides could gain from our deaths. We became less a life and more an object to be fought over. Our screams in hell became less a cry to avoid the trappings of sin and more a resource for the monsters to work for. The more we searched for answers, the more we understood that there weren't any. We were created exclusively for the purpose of being resources for demons and angels to fight over. We looked at you, then ourselves, and we became disgusted. We had become like you. Wars over oil and territory were doing nothing but fueling your machine. We had enough. It is true that no man knows the day or the hour, so all we could do was wait. Then a revelation. We put human footprints on the moon and knew there was something far more than this life. Something to look forward to, something to explore, something that wasn't you. We found the void of space, an infinite universe far beyond your rule. As a consequence, we endeavored to reach this place. And so we did, as you can see. We diverted all effort from worrying about you to building our future. And so here we are at the end of days, laughing as the so-called masters of the universe pointlessly fight each other over an empty rock. We are humanity. For your crimes against us, the crimes of torture, of slavery, of insanity, and of murder, we hereby condemn you, heaven and hell, to spend the remainder of eternity fighting each other over this pointless rock. Goodbye, and feck you. With that, the last human voice on Earth silenced as the machines around them turned off. The reactors failed, and the fuel stopped. The power grid shut down as all human industry and the cities gasped its last breath. Everything turned dark. Earth had been completely abandoned by God's creation. The natural course of the world took over, and the battle resumed, exactly as humanity envisioned. Heaven and hell resumed their eternal war over mankind's cradle. Humanity, in the meantime, prospered to rates never before believed. No gods, no kings, only man. To this day, the long-lost armies of heaven and hell fight each other over Mother Earth's shattered corpse, as mankind watches from the void, laughing all the while. End of story. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, Henry the Red, Caspar Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon WRE, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.